So here we are again, Squad, another day, another attempt by the British media machine to twist Prince Harry's growth into some bizarre narrative of desperation or manipulation. But as always, we're here to set the record straight. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that Harry and Meghan have never needed to play by the royal family's outdated, toxic rulebook. And they sure as hell don't need the validation of people who have spent the last 5 years tearing them down. Let's get one thing clear from the very start. Prince Harry is not the problem, he never was. The problem is a system built on image over empathy, tradition over truth, and obedience over authenticity. And yet, despite all the attacks, despite being vilified in the press, frozen out by his own family, and constantly undermined by so-called royal sources, Harry has once again made a conscious choice to rise above it all. He's extending an olive branch, a real, tangible, deliberate gesture of peace. Not for photo ops, not to beg for his place back, but to clear a path forward, for his kids, for his healing, and yes, even for a monarchy that never fully knew how to value him. According to recent reports, Prince Harry has offered what insiders are calling a significant olive branch to his family. He's reportedly agreed to share his official diary, yes, his schedule, with Buckingham Palace. Let that sink in. A man who has been smeared, sidelined and stripped of his birthright security is taking proactive steps to make sure his public engagements don't clash with royal events. Why? Because he wants to avoid conflict. He wants to make room for coexistence. He wants to live in peace, not pettiness. Now let's be real. This isn't about submission. This isn't about crawling back. This is about maturity. This is what evolution looks like. This is what healing sounds like. After years of being treated like a scapegoat, Harry is still choosing to act with integrity. Not because he owes them anything, but because that's who he is. And if that doesn't make you admire him more, then maybe you've been reading too many tabloid headlines. Think about what this move really represents. Harry has reportedly instructed his team to coordinate with Buckingham Palace, even Kensington Palace, to avoid the kind of media clashes and public friction that fueled so much speculation and toxicity in the past. They're creating a grid of his activities, not so the firm can control him, but so everyone can function without unnecessary drama. It's grown man energy. It's intentional, it's measured, and it's the exact opposite of the chaos the media tries to paint him in. And guess what the Royal Rota does in response? They twist it. They take this thoughtful, forward-thinking gesture and use it to push the idea that Harry is somehow still the outsider, that he's begging for approval, that his gestures are futile because, and here's the kicker, 2 unnamed senior royals will never forgive him. Excuse me? Never forgive him for what? For surviving? For walking away from an institution that refused to protect his wife from racial abuse? For wanting his children to grow up in a house filled with love and safety rather than silence and sacrifice? For telling his truth in a memoir after years of swallowing it for the sake of the crown? For refusing to stay in a gilded cage so that others could feel comfortable? If speaking up about pain, about injustice, about generational trauma is an unforgivable offence, then it says more about the system than it ever will about Harry. And yet Harry is still showing up with grace, with accountability, with the willingness to plan around a family that has done nothing but punish him for choosing freedom. Let's not forget, this isn't some sudden turnaround for Harry. He has always said he wants reconciliation. He's made it clear in interviews, in courtrooms, and even in Spare. He wants healing. He wants resolution. He wants to set a better example for his son and daughter than the one he was given. But healing can't happen if only one person is willing to do the work. And right now it's painfully clear. Harry's doing all the emotional labour while others sit back in silence, clinging to grudges like family heirlooms. This man has been publicly humiliated. He's been stripped of military honours he earned. He's had his motives questioned, his wife attacked, his character dragged, and still he's extending grace. Still, he's opening doors. Still, he's offering space for dialogue. That's not weakness, that's power, that's courage. That's the difference between a man who leads with his heart and an institution that hides behind protocol. And let's not pretend this new way of thinking is just about calendars and conflict resolution. It's about legacy. It's about saying enough. Enough with the cycle of silence. Enough with the performative unity. Enough with the leaking and the briefing and the tabloid puppeteering. Harry is stepping into a space of alignment, and yes, it's strategic, because peace, just like war, requires planning. But don't get it twisted. He's not doing this to be liked. He's doing this so that Archie and Lilibet never have to question whether they were part of the problem or part of the solution. And what about Meghan? Let's not ignore her role in all of this. Meghan's grace, her quiet strength, her unwavering support. You better believe this kind of shift in mindset is rooted in partnership. Meghan has endured relentless attacks for simply existing, and yet she's built a brand that centres wellness, storytelling, compassion and purpose. She hasn't needed to sit for an exclusive with a tabloid. She hasn't needed to retaliate. She's let her work and her silence speak volumes. And in the background of all this narrative about Harry's gesture, we know what's really bothering the press and the palace. It's not that Harry's causing trouble. It's that he's thriving without them. They can't control the narrative. They can't weaponize his silence anymore, and every step he takes toward healing makes it harder for them to sell their scandal-ridden soap opera. So now they spin stories like this, suggesting that he's the one who must be forgiven, that no matter what he does, it will never be enough. But the truth is, the ones clinging to resentment are the ones who haven't evolved. The ones unwilling to forgive are the ones who fear accountability, and the ones still angry are the ones who refuse to see Harry and Meghan as full, autonomous human beings, not just characters in their royal drama. It's wild that Harry's genuine attempt to avoid conflict is painted as desperate, while palace silence is somehow portrayed as dignified. That tells you everything you need to know about how skewed this system is. But you know what? Let them talk, let them leak, let them rage in the columns of their crumbling tabloids. Because Harry and Meghan are still here, still rising, still growing. And every move they make, every gesture of peace, every act of self-preservation, chips away at the narrative they were never meant to escape. So to the so-called senior royals who will never forgive, we say this. Forgiveness isn't a favour, it's a choice. And if you're choosing to stay bitter while Harry is choosing to build bridges, then that says more about your character than it does about his. The world is watching now, and the Sussexes aren't hiding, they're evolving, publicly, unapologetically and gracefully. And to you, our beautiful Royal Sussex Squad, the truth-seekers, the protectors of Harry and Meghan's legacy, the defenders of light in a sea of noise, we see you. We thank you, and we need you more than ever. If you've been moved by Harry's courage, if you believe in the power of reconciliation without erasure, if you support Meghan's unwavering dignity and creativity, then this is your moment. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel and show your support through super thanks. Every comment, every share, every donation helps us keep the truth front and centre where it belongs. Royal family live. Prince Harry shifts to new way of thinking. To resolve huge rift, Prince Harry's bid to reduce tensions with his father comes after their aides met for peace talks in London. Prince Harry has offered a significant olive branch to the royal family in a bid to reduce further tensions with his father. An inside source revealed that Harry has shifted to a new way of thinking after their aides met in London. The peace offering includes the Duke of Sussex sharing his official diary engagements to avoid the clashing of dates with the royal family. Earlier this month, Harry's trip to Angola, where he retracted Princess Diana's footsteps through a minefield, came at the same time as Queen Camilla's 78th birthday portrait. Before that meeting between their aides in London, conflicts of interest or clashes of publicity were relished, and even perhaps encouraged by the Sussexes, the insider told the Mail on Sunday. Now Harry has shifted into a new way of thinking. The tone is now all about deconflicting with his family. The source added, that's why his household agreed to draw up a grid of his activities and share them with Buckingham Palace, and by extension with Kensington Palace. Harry still doesn't like being controlled by the royal machinery, and that won't change. However, if the royal family have full sight of his movements, they can at least plan accordingly. It's a significant gesture. Prince Harry will never be forgiven by two key royals as feud continues. Prince Harry will not be forgiven by two senior members of the royal family despite his efforts for reconciliation, a royal commentator has claimed. The Duke of Sussex has been estranged from the firm since 2020, when he stepped down as a senior working royal and moved to the US with his wife Meghan Markle, where they have now settled with their 2 children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. Harry's tarnished relationship with his royal relatives has come back into the spotlight after some of his aides were spotted having a meeting with those of the King in London, sparking hope for a possible path to a future reconciliation. The Duke himself declared that he wished to reconcile with this family a few months ago after he lost a High Court appeal challenge regarding his security in the UK. But a royal expert claimed that despite his efforts, 2 royals will never forgive the prince for the things he has said. This is Royal Sussex Squad, and we're not just a community. We're a force. We're a movement. And we will continue to lift up Harry and Meghan, no matter how loud the noise gets, no matter how desperate the headlines become, no matter how many times they try to rewrite the truth. We stand for healing, we stand for truth. We stand with the Sussexes, and we're just getting started. See you in the next one, squad.